How do you describe an emergency quickly and clearly? In emergencies, when time equals life, and every decision must be made within seconds, the ability to describe clearly, quickly, and precisely is not just a skill, but a moral responsibility. A wrong report can delay rescue. A vague message can mislead. In such contexts, language doesn't just inform, it saves. But how can we speak briefly, clearly, and correctly when panic clouds our mind? In emergencies, language is not just a tool, it is a lifeline. When you speak clearly, someone may live because you didn't stutter. In moments of emergency, when everything happens too fast and life is measured in seconds, language, something we often take for granted, suddenly becomes our strongest weapon. You may not be able to help physically, you may not be a doctor, and you may not have equipment, but you have your words. And if those words are correct, clear, and well-timed, they can change everything. In medical emergencies, a call with accurate information about location. So why do many people fail to speak clearly in such moments? The answer lies in the body's natural reaction. Adrenaline speeds up the heartbeat. The mind loses track of priorities. At this point, skill doesn't come from instinct, but from training. A person who knows how to describe emergencies must train to speak accurately in chaos. One simple yet powerful method is to practice using a structured sentence. Where, who, what need. For example, Lavon Tam Park, 5-year-old girl fell and hit her head, bleeding, needs urgent ambulance. When practiced to reflex, this sentence format helps the speaker cut through confusion. And most importantly, you don't have to speak well, you have to speak right. In emergencies, no one cares about eloquence, they listen to act. And a timely description is the lifeline someone in danger may be holding on to. In an accident, 3 roles emerge almost instantly: the victim, the rescuer, and the describer. The third role, often underestimated, does the critical link that determines whether the other to connect in time. When someone describes clearly, they do more than share facts. They create a bridge between suffering and response. They shape the context in which rescuers understand, locate, and act. This turns them from passive witness into active responder through language. In existential philosophy, helping is not just physicalize, the act of stepping into someone's reality. When you describe an emergency, you enter the panic of the victim to help them become visible to the system. This poses a moral question. When you are the only one who sees, do you also carry the responsibility not just to act, but to articulate? An unclear message doesn't just misdirect responders, delays the help that someone desperately needs. Therefore, practicing emergency description isn't academic, it's how you avoid paralysis when it counts. And the remarkable truth is, you don't need tools, degrees, or special training. You just need one sentence structure, a calm breath, and the awareness that you are the bridge. Sometimes, an entire life depends on how you choose your words in those 30 seconds. In emergencies, the human body enters fight, flight, or freeze, an instinctive survival mode. Yet paradoxically, when you most need to speak clearly, your nervous system often prevents you from doing so. This is one of the biggest barriers to emergency communication. Studies show that individuals without emergency simulation training tend to use vague, while those with simulation experience say, "A man fell in front of supermarket A, unresponsive, call emergency now." This difference doesn't stem from education level, it comes from the process of reflex verbalization. In behavioral psychology, this is called overlearning training until the brain can activate the correct verbal pattern, even under stress. It's the same reason firefighters rehearse exact phrases before entering a burning building, or flight attendants repeat safety lines before each flight. When verbal reflex becomes a routine, it overrides emotion. And this is trainable. Create 3 to 5 sentence templates for emergencies, and repeat them until you can say them out loud with eyes closed. In a crisis, you don't need creativity, you need accuracy. That saves lives. Therefore, modern education should include emergency verbal reflex training and life skills curriculum, just to make students more articulate, but to make society safer. Not all cultures encourage quick reaction, loud voices, or public intervention. Raising your voice may be misunderstood as aggression. As a result, many bystanders, though present during emergencies, hesitate to speak up or give direct instructions. In contrast, in parts of Northern Europe and North America, children are taught from a young age how to call emergency services, describe accidents, and use clear keywords like help, emergency, he's not breathing. This illustrates that emergency description is not just a linguistic skill, but a cultural product. It reflects a society where people are taught how to speak up when it matters. In today's increasingly disconnected world, what's needed is a culture of responsible reaction where citizens see clarity not as politeness, but as duty. Emergency speech isn't about eloquence, it's about precision. And for that to happen, we must shift language education from speak beautifully to speak when it counts. An effective emergency sentence doesn't need polish, it needs accuracy, brevity, and clarity. That's the language of social responsibility. And when an entire community shares this fluency, safety becomes not just individual luck, but a foundation of collective civilization. Have you ever witnessed a public accident where everyone stood still? No one acted, no one called for help. Everyone just looked around, waiting. This isn't apathy, it's a phenomenon known as the bystander effect. When multiple people witness an emergency, each assumes someone else will do something. And in the end, no one does. In such moments, a clear, intentional description not only delivers facts, it breaks paralysis. For example, instead of yelling help, look directly at someone and say, "You in the white shirt, call an ambulance now. This woman is not breathing." A targeted command instantly shifts the listener from passive to active. In behavioral psychology, this is called responsibility activation, triggering personal responsibility through directed speech. Moreover, emergency speech should follow subject-verb-action structure. Use strong keywords and avoid vagueness. When listeners perceive urgency, specificity, and a clear directive, they're more likely to override doubt and act instinctively. Therefore, emergency description is not just speaking nuts, speech designed for action. A skilled describer turns language into motion and understands that everyone in the crowd is waiting for someone to give them a role. One right sentence doesn't just save the victim, it awakens the one who can save. In many cases, emergency speakers make the opposite mistake of silence. They talk too much. Under psychological stress, people tend to pour out everything they know. I saw the accident earlier. There was a loud sound. Then, someone fell. I think they were on a motorbike or maybe a bicycle. Someone was standing nearby. Meanwhile, the responder only needs 3 elements: who, where, condition. Overtalking not only wastes time, it causes cognitive overload. A phenomenon in cognitive psychology where the brain fails to extract critical information from excessive unfiltered input. An effective emergency message is one pre-filtered before speaking. Therefore, emergency speaking isn't just about templates, it's about subtractive design. No personal emotion, no narrative sequence, no guessing, no unnecessary detail. For example, instead of, "I'm not sure, but maybe she had a heart attack because she held her chest and Feli was far but heard loud breathing." Say, "Woman collapsed, holding chest, unresponsive, at Tran Phu Street corner, needs ambulance now." The simpler, the more actionable. Like traffic signs, emergency speech must deliver the core message instantly. Precision comes from clarity. And clarity comes from training, not instinct. In many modern societies, development is measured by infrastructure, internet speed, consumption, or tech indexes. But there's an indicator few consider: the community's ability to respond with words in crisis. A civilized society isn't one where people stay commits, one where people speak up at the right time, in the right way, for the right reason. In life or death moments, when someone collapses in the street, shouting, "Someone help," isn't enough. We need man. About 60, unconscious, at New Yan Tai Hawk intersection. I'll miss cash eng call. An ambulance now. The right sentence reflects an entire system of language, education, life skills training, and civic responsibility. It shows that the speaker not only knows but dares. They don't wait for others. Don't fear mistakes. Don't speak vaguely. They don't need to be a doctor or orator. They just need to know. In crisis, speech is action. And that action, repeated by thousands, forms a culture of life-saving. Therefore, emergency speaking must enter schools, civil training, public media, to alarm but to empower. When a 10-year-old can clearly call 911, that's a sign of a mature society. And when everyone can deliver the right 30-second sentence, we don't just save people, we protect one another. Emergency description is not a personal matter. It's a survival skill and a sign of a responsible society. When you speak clearly in a critical moment, you don't just save lives, you rekindle human connection in a world drifting apart. Today, learn and teach a simple emergency sentence, because one day, someone you love might need it. And when that moment comes, 30 seconds might be everything.